Welcome to the True Grime Stories podcast, where in every episode, we'll unravel a new mystery of cleaning business transformation from a grimy mess to a great success. Join me, your host, Jeannie Henderson, as together we dig up cleaning business secrets that you've been dying to know. Hello, my cleaning business friends. Jeannie Henderson here, your host of True Grime Stories. And I am geeked about our guest today. I have Katherine Banks in the house, and she is the founder and owner of Best Day House Cleaning. I love hearing cleaning business names. They make me happy. I love that one. And that's in Geneva, Illinois. And she's just been in the cleaning business just about 2 years, not even really fully serving customers for 2 years. She started in 2023. And, but the thing that I love about her story is that this is not her first rodeo, as so to speak. She's had other careers before this. So we'll dive into that a little bit today. But one of them was interior design, which I think is a great lead in for the residential cleaning industry. And she's been in business for a long time, but looking for something more scalable, she landed on the residential cleaning industry. And I'm so glad that she did and that we've gotten to know each other over the last couple of years. And so she has really been working on building a great business with a great reputation in her community and loves being also, or wants to become, the best place to work, which that's near and dear to my heart too. So glad to have you, Katherine. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. I'm super excited.
Yeah, this is going to be a great conversation. So before we got started today, Katherine and I were kind of talking about her history, and I love it because there are many different ways that people come into the residential cleaning industry. And I love our community because we're so diverse. Like, we just come from all different walks of lives and backgrounds and things like that. But yours is pretty unique in this, second, third career transitions that you've made over the last few years. So take me back to before you got started and what kind of led to you getting started and starting your cleaning business.
Yeah, I mean, I'll try not to go too far back, but I was an interior designer for 19 years. I was always in the commercial space. I ended up working in hospitals, doing construction planning and design and management the last 7 years of my corporate career, but I just never loved it. It was never my passion. I was always artistic as a kid, and I think my mom was trying to guide me into something that was going to be safe and stable, which that's what ended up happening. But again, I was just never happy. And in my soul, I felt like a total sellout.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, hospitals really probably don't give you a great place to express your creative nature.
Yeah. No, it's very, very corporate, very political, in terms of people trying to climb that ladder. I loved working for a hospital in terms of the team environment. And I always felt like I was part of something bigger. I really did love that. But I just never felt like I was doing what my soul was telling me to do. So at 40, I went back to school to do hair, went to cosmetology school. That was interesting. And I did, follow through on all of my goals with that. I wanted to own my own salon suite, have my own business. What it really came down to was I really wanted to be my own boss. And I did that, and I was successful. I met all the goals that I had for myself in that industry. But I also—
How long were you doing that?
I did that for 7 years.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. And I was on my own for about half of that time. I did have a mentor. You have to have a mentor no matter what you're doing. It's my belief. So I did have a mentor who taught me everything. And then I went out on my own. And of course, I lost my train of thought, but I realized I had kind of capped out. I was making a certain amount of money. I was never going to make more money unless I physically worked more or started a salon, which I was not interested in doing. So I was like,
either you do it with your hands yourself, or you have to build out something where you can have more people, right?
Exactly. And I was, at that time I was late 40s, and I'm like, I'm not getting any younger. I don't really want to be on my feet more than I already am. So I knew I needed to find what was going to be next. I knew I had at least 20 more years of working. And so I had to find something else. And this was, right around, the ends of COVID, and, everyone was starting to work remotely. I really wanted to be able to do something that I could do remotely, that I could scale.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a friend in this industry who I talked to about how it was working for her, and it just checked all these boxes of everything I was looking for. Um, I was not scared to make a change because I had already done that before.
Right.
I'd already jumped off that cliff once and survived. And so I knew, the worst that's going to happen is it's not going to work, or I'm going to fail. And you know what? You just start over again.
Right. Yeah. And, Catherine and I have talked many times, and you really, I mean, in 2 years, you've accomplished, in less than 2 years, accomplished a tremendous amount in the cleaning industry. Many people never make it to the level that you're at right now. How many people are on your team? How many cleaning technicians?
As of today, we have 8, but I did just hire 3.
Wow.
So
Awesome.
per my coaching calls from you, we're
Got to
going to
get
be overstaffed.
overhired.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
overstaffed. Yeah, which is
Oh,
fine.
that's so good. Well, that's great news too. I'm really excited to hear that after the last time that we talked. So that's
Yeah.
good. And that, so to go from zero in 2023 to now, sprouting 11 technicians, but, hopefully, 8 to 10 technicians
Mhm.
at this time, that is quite an accomplishment that many people never reach. I purchased a little cleaning business when I started, and it had 4 technicians when I purchased it. One quit the day that I took the business over, so I had to step into that seat. But I mean, that business had been existing for 14 years and had never exceeded 5 or 6 technicians.
Wow.
And I hear those stories all the time. So kudos to you, for getting right out of the gate, looking to people like your friend who were already in the business, looking for mentors and things like that, because that really sets you up for success.
Mhm. Yes.
But as we know, it's not always easy, right?
No. No, it has not always. No, I would not. I'm not. Never thought it would be easy. Um, my goal is to be more of an absentee owner. I've got like a 5-year goal for myself where I can be a little more in the background. But
Mhm.
no, it is. I'm sure Faith Tate,
Mhm. Yeah.
and when I first started with clients, I you know I don't know. I think I texted her and just said, "Oh my gosh, like every day it's something." And she said, "That's what this is. It's every day there's a problem that you have to fix." I think about that all the time. There's every day it's just, you know, fixing problems, answering questions, dealing with whatever's coming up that day, and trying to create systems around it to make next time go a little bit smoother.
Mhm.
But yeah, I mean, it's been a lot. I've really dedicated myself to this. I work really hard. I think a lot about different books I've read, coaches I've had, experiences I've had, and whatever mantra of the day there is that gets me through. That's what I use to just say, okay, got to keep going, and it's one step at a time, one day at a time, and you'll see the growth if you just stick with it and work hard.
Well, there's a lot in all that you just said right there. I can't unpack it all, but the first thing that really jumped out at me in what you said was, where you want to go.
Hmm.
You know
Yes.
where you want to be 5 years from now. And so you have that point out in the future that you are moving in that direction. And so many of us, and I am so guilty of this, just blow with the wind. Where is it taking us? And, if you don't have a plan of where to go, you're going to for sure get there because, right?
Yeah.
But if you really truly want to make a difference in the industry and really grow your business, you do have to have a plan, like to decide where you want to be, several years from now. So I'd like to dig into that a little bit more later. But also, you mentioned, you invest in yourself. You read, you have like a sense, you have friends around you, sources of inspiration.
Mhm.
Like, oh my gosh, some of these days they can really beat you up. And if you don't have that, like you have to have something to center you and kind of bring you back. I like to think about business like a game, and people love gaming, as you can see by everyone on the airplane playing like whatever that game is with the little exploding candy or whatever, Candy
Yeah,
Crush
I was
or
addicted to that for a little bit.
yeah, right? If you love
Yeah,
games, this is great because it's like a puzzle every day, you know?
correct. Mhm.
It is a
It
puzzle
is.
every day. You get better at it as you go if you apply what you learn. And that's the secret to success is just like finding those small wins every day, and they just kind of build on each other over time. And all of a sudden, here you are, and you have this big business with over 10 employees, which is really cool. So
Thank you.
congratulations.
Thank you.
So thinking about, those challenges though that we run into in our business, and this is true grime stories. So we like to dig into the grime a little bit here. What
Okay.
is something that you've run into, it could be recent or it could be early on in your business that you really had to figure out how to overcome it? What was a grime scene that you experienced at one point where you just really felt challenged?
I mean, I feel like it's been happening the past 2 months. We've just really had a very big staffing problem where we've had people leave with no notice. We've had someone out with an injury, and trying to replace people has been very challenging. We are very picky with who we hire.
As
Um,
you should be.
right. I mean, like Debbie says, hire slow, fire fast. I am not always good at the firing fast part, but but I
Most of us aren't.
right.
We say it
But
all the time, but it's really hard to live it,
yeah.
right?
And I mean, I've followed a lot of advice from other CBF people like Amy, who, I pretty much follow her hiring protocol to a T. We, do a group interview, then we do, well, first we do a phone interview, then a group interview, then a one-on-one interview, background check, reference check. I mean, I take my time with people to make sure they're serious. And there's certain parameters, again, things I've learned from Debbie of what to look for in people. But that's been our biggest challenge lately. I am having a hard time seeing a rhyme and reason as to who works out and who doesn't. That is
Yeah.
something that I feel like is still under investigation. And,
Yeah,
but
you
we're,
could probably create like a big flow chart of that,
yeah, I mean, so I do like my new salesperson who's not doing a lot of selling right now because we don't have a lot of room. So she's helping me with interviewing. She's
Great.
helping me with create a master spreadsheet that tracks someone from the first interview all the way to an exit interview. So we can start to try to track why people are leaving or what people work out and what stuck out about them. And
Mhm.
so we have all that data. I wasn't really tracking that data, but now we're starting to really track all of that as well so that we can look back in a year from now and see who worked out, who didn't, what rhyme and reason is there to that.
Mhm. Well, in talking to cleaning business owners, and I know you experience this too, this is the issue, right? We're managing people, the
Mm-hmm.
people business, and all we sell are their hours, right?
Yeah.
That's our product, right? And so we're dependent on it. We don't have a business if we don't have the people, and it's a challenge. So in this process, as you've been going through this, and I'm sure this isn't the first time you bumped into this problem, there's probably been other humps that you've had to get over in staffing up till this point. um, what's one thing that you have found that when you get in that situation where you're struggling to hire, what's a solution that has worked for you, or a system or a process?
Well, I think one thing, you can't be afraid to spend money. Um, I learned that when I was doing hair, as being a first time real business owner, you have to spend money to make money. So, and I'm a very frugal person. So I try to spend as little as I can on Indeed. But now I'm like, you know what? We just have to open it up. We got to take as many applications as we can because, we're just finding that when we hire 3 people, one shows up.
Yeah. Yeah, this whole I just had an extended conversation about ghosting with one of my best friends who's been in sales all of her life, and she's like, "What is this ghosting thing?"
Yeah.
We just don't understand it from our generation, like, my
No, I
mother would have
mean,
killed me if she knew I did something like that, so
yeah, and my
hard to
mom was in
understand.
HR. I call her my HR director because whenever I have a question about, what to do in a situation, I call my HR director, my mom, for advice on what she's experienced.
I love that.
Yeah.
I
Yeah, she
think
was in
most of us should do that more often.
oh, yeah, she was in
Like,
the casino industry, so believe me, she's got a lot of stories.
oh,
So
I bet.
and a
That's
lot of different, hiring all kinds of different skill levels too, so she
mhm.
kinda has seen it all. But yeah, I mean, I
She could
think
probably write a book that would help
oh,
all of
yeah.
us. Yeah.
Good, yeah.
Yeah.
She got some
So,
good stories.
yeah, so you run into these issues, but you found and I love this what you mentioned because it's so critical and I don't want to gloss over it because this is a point that I believe many people miss is the investment piece,
Mhm.
right? That we can't get everything for free. I mean, you get what you pay for. Didn't mom say that too, right?
Yeah.
Like advice from mom, you know, if you really want something great, you have to invest. And you've talked about that leading up to this, that you are one of these people who strategically invests in things that help you grow your business. But if you really want good people, you have to invest in your process and invest in the ads. And, if you really want to reach the right ones, you have to invest in how much you pay them. And I mean, it's all an investment.
Mhm. Yeah, so I just at this point, we really want to be overstaffed, and so, again, I hired 3 people in the past week, and I'm kind of expecting one of them to actually physically show up, so if all 3 show up and do great, great, but I can't history is showing me that I can't depend on that. I have to just be ready to go through a whole 'nother round of interviews and maybe get another one.
Right.
So,
It's a numbers game.
mhm,
And when people don't work out, I mean, it actually is good, right? We don't want them. We don't want the
yeah,
people who aren't going to work out, but it's frustrating the amount of energy, time, resources that we sometimes pour into people and then they don't work out. But ultimately with the goal that you're building the right team with the right people.
correct, and I have to keep that in mind. I have to not get so disappointed in people, when they ghost. Even in our interview process, my last interview with people, I mentioned 2 times, I'm like, "This is not a question, this is just a statement. I just want you to think about the commitment level of this job. It is a physical job. We are looking for people who are reliable, who have integrity and attention to detail, and if that is not for you, that is fine. Take the evening to think about it and, let me know tomorrow if you really, really want this job." I mean, I've still had people ghost me after that, but I'm just kind of maybe that's why they ghosted because they are all of a sudden like, "Oh, yeah, maybe I don't want to do this." But I guess I would rather them ghost me than spend a week of training and then quit.
I love that strategy though. You're basically like scaring them
I know.
but to to filter them, right? To filter out the ones who really aren't serious,
Mhm.
and making it almost a challenge, like for them to prove themselves, which I like that too. That's really, really good. Well, I
Yeah.
love what we've uncovered
Yeah.
so far in our investigation today, but I don't want to jump back into this, but first let's take a quick little break and hear about cleaning business fundamentals, which is where you and I met.
Mhm.
So let's watch this and we'll be right back.
Okay.
Is your cleaning business a grime story? There's no need to stay stuck in the muck because you're not alone. With over 500 active members and more than 500 graduates of our Cleaning Business Fundamentals program, CBF is the #1 cleaning business academy in the world and has created more mop-free millionaires than any program in the industry. Learn more and let CBF take your residential cleaning business from a grime story to a gleaming success. Welcome back, everyone, to True Grime Stories. I'm here with Katherine Banks, the owner of Best Day House Cleaning in Illinois. And we're having a great discussion about finding the right people for the team and really investing in the process. So let's dig a little bit deeper into your investment strategy, right? So what are some things that you have found, took your ad from, bringing in just a few applicants that weren't so great to, getting more applicants and better ones? What kind of strategy have you applied there?
Spending money. So again, like I said, I'm a pretty frugal person. I was doing free ads for a long time. So just increasing that spend, increasing the amount of time that the ad's out there, changing the ad.
Let's stop at the spending piece for a
Yeah.
minute,
Mhm.
and talk real dollars.
Yeah.
So you went
Mhm.
from a free ad to, are you spending a certain amount? How is it set up? Is it set like a certain amount per day, per week?
Per day, yeah. So on Indeed, you can do like how much it will give you a suggested amount.
Mhm, mhm.
And I will usually do, $45 a day for about 7 or 10 days. And I'll try to make sure that at least most of those days are on a weekend. Um,
Yeah, that's a really good point right there because that's
yeah.
when people apply for jobs.
Yeah. So like I know, so right now we just opened an ad again 2 days ago and I have it stopping, I think on June 30th, because I also figure that's 4th of July week.
Right.
People are going to be thinking about other stuff. So hopefully we get a lot of good people over this next week. And so I'm trying to kind of budget it out to about, $600 to $750 a month right now because we are trying to get overstaffed. That's the point, that's that balancing act of when are we going to feel comfortable enough to pull back on that, to where maybe we're only spending $20 a day or something.
Right. But never stopping, right? That's
Never
the one
stopping.
thing that we've
Yeah.
learned is if we stop hiring, it usually turns around and bites you in the backside because
Mhm.
as soon as you stop hiring, two people quit that you didn't know were going to quit.
Yep.
And all of a sudden now you're short staffed again.
Yeah.
So yeah, getting overhired is such a big deal, but that's a significant investment. And I'm glad you shared that because I think people are so, we hold pretty tightly to our money and a lot of people are afraid to spend money on marketing. And this is marketing for the most important person that you will ever have in your business, right?
True.
I mean, our cleaning techs are the revenue generators, and depending on where you're located, they can bring in $75,000 to $125,000 a year per technician to your business if you're scheduling right, pricing right. So, a client might bring in $4,000 or $5,000 a year.
Right.
And
Yeah.
it's so funny because people will spend, all kinds of money on marketing for clients, but then when it comes to marketing for employees, they're like, "Oh, I'm just going to use free ads."
Right. I know it is kind of silly. I
Isn't it?
know. I know. We really do have to flip the way we think about that. And I actually every week when I do payroll, I'm not sure if everyone else does this. This is just something that I did. I like to see what all of my we call our cleaning techs cleaning VIPs.
I
I
love
like to
that.
see what all of our VIPs are generating. So that helps me also forecast out, what I think we'll be making every month. So, one thing again I learned from Debbie and some other people in CBF is just having all of your numbers, knowing your numbers up, down, backwards, and forwards it just helps you so much understand, what's working and what's not.
Well, I'm just going to say right now, Katherine, you just laid down a challenge for everybody who's listening that they need to figure out this number for the technicians they have right now, because incremental changes to this number can make a huge difference over
Mhm.
time. If you can get a technician bringing in an extra $100 a week, that's, $5,000 a year. It just makes such a big difference. So how much, if I could ask,
Yeah.
are your technicians bringing in on average per week?
Per week.
Are you
Of course, I
looking
don't
at
have
per
that right.
week?
What's that?
Or what number are you looking at per week, per day?
Per week. Yeah,
Mhm.
because we pay weekly, so I always, total up what they brought in per week. I mean, I would say probably about $1,000 average. I hope
Yeah.
I'm saying that right. Um, it maybe more than that, it's
Well,
gotta
and
be
I
more
put
than
you
that.
on the spot. So,
Yeah.
but it can be a significant amount, and it's a number to watch because changing that number can change your business in amazing ways.
Yeah, I think when I forecast out my A players I like to forecast or presume that they're gonna bring in about $7,000 a month.
Okay.
Okay, so it's a
Okay.
little bit it's
Yeah.
more than
So
s
more
more than
than 1,000 a
1,000 a
week.
week, yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah,
Right.
so and
So
then when
that's over, 80,000 a year.
yeah,
Right. That's awesome. That's amazing. And I just love it. So this is such a great strategy that we've talked about today, overcoming, when this staffing issue is the one that I hear more than any as a coach in the hundreds of people I've talked to in the cleaning industry. By far, it's the biggest challenge, but it's the one that we rarely understand how much we need to invest to be successful in it.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah. So this is powerful. Thank you so much for sharing that. Like,
Thank you.
boom,
Good,
drop
I
the
hope I
mic.
helped.
Just go spend some money on your recruiting ads, but it
Yeah,
does. It makes such a huge difference in the quality of people that you get. Um, you think about how ads run. If you're running a free ad, it's at the bottom of the list. And I come from the restaurant industry. And one of the things that I learned in the restaurant industry, I used to do a lot of catering, and how you set up the buffet impacts how your food goes in like throughout the event. So if I'm short on something, I'm going to put that at the end of my buffet because people always take more of what's at the beginning. Now, what does this have to do with hiring, Jeannie? Well, when people are scrolling, you know, through ads and they're watching, they're binging on some show and they're scrolling through employment ads, they're going to see the first ones first and they're more likely to click on them
mhm,
because they saw them first. And so if you aren't paying for your ads, they are way down at the bottom.
mhm.
The last ones that they see, you get fewer impressions, very few impressions compared to the other people who are paying. So, um, yeah, I mean, we want to be first in every regard. We work so hard to get our website to show up first on page one, and to be in the 3 pack and on Google and all this stuff. We have to do the same thing with our employment ads.
Yeah,
Right?
and one thing that you had mentioned during your Culture Magic, your modules was looking at your Indeed profile as an employer, your employer
Oh
profile, because I
yeah.
guess I didn't never knew that you get rated as an employer as if you're, a good responder, if, other people liked working there. So kind of need to spend a little time looking at that too.
Yeah. It can be a little cringy when you first click on that, open it if you've
Yeah.
never done it before, but it's really important
Mhm.
um, to do that and understand what your ratings are. And there are some things you can do to help improve that too. We'll maybe do that another call.
Yeah.
Well, this has been so good talking with you about this today. This is a great tip that I think many people will benefit from. And you've just scratched the surface on what you're going to accomplish in the cleaning
Thanks,
industry.
Jeannie.
You are a powerhouse with what you've accomplished so far, and I know you're going to reach your 5-year goal because you have said it and you've claimed it. uh, and you're in the right place. You're surrounding yourself with good people to help you get there. So what's there's many pieces of advice out there, but as a business person, as a, multi-career person, like what's a piece of advice that you could give to somebody who is either has been in the cleaning business for a while, is thinking about it, or is just starting out? Like, what's a piece of advice you'd want to share?
Something I think about or hadn't thought about in a while that popped into my brain, middle of the night kind of thing was another book I had read when I went back to school for cosmetology was Jen Sincero's You Are a Badass. Oh my God, I know you read a lot. And I wish I read as much as you did in terms of business books, but that is like my business Bible book when I think about it's just so good. But one of the things she says in that book is the universe, when you decide what you want and you're going for it 150%, the universe is going to test you. The universe is going to throw you challenges, and you're not going to realize that's what's happening. But, like I said, I woke up at 2:00 in the morning and I was like, oh, the universe is testing me. That's what's been happening these past 2 months with all these staffing things. It's like the universe is testing me to see if I really, really want this.
How serious are you, Katherine?
Yeah. And I mean, I'm
Right.
sure we all have days where we're just like, you know what, forget it. This is too hard. It's too hard. But I'm like, no, the universe is testing to see if this is what I really want. Am I going to rise to this challenge? And you know what? I am. I'm not gonna let, a bad day here or, ruin my dream of being this, business owner, creating this great business, a great place to work, and one day being fairly absentee.
Right. Yes.
Just got to keep
get there. You will get there. Well,
Yeah.
I love that, that thought process and that quote, because, I was just thinking about something similar this morning. I was working out and, the instructor said something like, everything or every win that you've ever had was on the other side of something that you were afraid of, fear or a challenge that you were up against, and the only way you can achieve wins is to be doing these scary things and facing these challenges. Every successful entrepreneur has to do them. It's like, we're just constantly running a race with hurdles that we're jumping over all the time.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's so good. And it's good to realize that it's, the length of time of the challenge does vary, but we get over them. We get through them because we keep moving forward,
Yeah.
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 Oh, so good. Thank you for sharing that. Well, this has been a great conversation. I've loved it. And I know a lot of our listeners are going to love it. So thank you, Katherine. Thank you so much for being here with me today.
Thank you, Jeannie. I loved it. I appreciate it. And I
Yeah.
appreciate you. Thank you.
Oh, yeah. It's been a pleasure working with you and watching you grow. It's such a joy. And I just want to invite everyone who's listening today, if this was helpful to you, I would love to hear about it. And if you want to know more about this amazing program, Cleaning Business Fundamentals, we talk about here all the time, I would love to talk with you about that. You can set up a free call. Just click on the link in the show notes. Make sure you download, share, and subscribe to True Grime Stories. Don't miss an episode. We come out every Tuesday. And we'll see you next time on True Grime Stories. Thanks, everybody. That's a wrap on today's episode of True Grime Stories. Thanks for joining us as we investigate the dirty and dangerous world of cleaning business success. Don't forget to subscribe, share, and download so you never miss a single mystery. Check out our show notes for links and more information from today's episode, and you can learn more about our sponsor, Cleaning Business Fundamentals. See you here next time as we solve another grime story.